Hey everyone, welcome back to another session. In today's class, we are going to deal with the digestive system of Periplaneta americana. Let's begin our class. When we talk about the digestive system, two things comes into our mind. First is the alimentary canal and second one is the associated gland. Same if you remember, we have studied in 10th standard for human being as well. What is the main difference between both of them? When we'll talk about the alimentary canal, actually food passes from this canal. What about the associated gland? Does food pass from this associated gland? Write it in the comment section. Now, what is alimentary canal? It is nothing but your long tube which is going to be coiled at some places and starts from mouth and ends at the anus. It has three regions. What are the three regions? First one we call it as foregut, which is also called as stomatium. Second one is midgut, also called as mesenteron or ventriculus. Third one is hindgut, which is also called as proctodium. When we talk about the foregut, it consists of few regions. What are the regions or what are the parts of foreguts? It is nothing but it starts with the preoral cavity, leads to mouth, leads to pharynx, leads to esophagus, leads to esophagus, leads to crop, leads to gizzard. Now, when we talk about the preoral cavity, if you remember, we have studied this when we talk about the parts of mouth. Preoral cavity is surrounded by the mouth part, where it is present in the front of the mouth. Actually, this preoral cavity, if you can see this picture over here, so this red color one is the preoral cavity which is divided into two chambers. Now, who is dividing these into two chambers? That is nothing but your hypopharynx. Hypopharynx is also called as tongue. Okay, so because of the hypopharynx, my oral cavity is divided into two chambers. The anterior one, which is present on the top, we call it as cybarium. The posterior one, which is present at the bottom, we call it as salivarium. Now, midgut का अगर बात करें तो it consists of two parts. What are the two parts? One is your secretory part and second one is your absorptive part. Hindgut की बात करें तो it consists of three parts. What are the three parts? One is your ileum, leads to colon, leads to rectum, and this leads to your anus. Now, associated glands which we are going to study in this chapter, it is nothing but your first one is your salivary gland, then we'll study about the hepatic caeca, and then we'll study about the glandular cells of the mesenteron. Just now I told you what is mesenteron. It is nothing but the midgut, right? Now, this is the picture of digestive system. All of you have to draw this. This is super important with respect to the board, with respect to the eamcet, with respect to the neet. Now, what kind of question comes with this for this digestive system? It is nothing but they will ask you for labeling, or they will ask you the function of the respective part. So you should be remembering all the labeling as well as the functioning of this digestive system of Periplaneta americana. Let's begin with the foregut. I already discussed about the preoral cavity. Now what we have written in the previous slide, you can just copy paste over here. Let's begin with mouth. When we'll talk about the mouth, in mouth we have teeth. What is the name of the teeth of the cockroach? We call it as mandible. We call it as mandible, right? So mandible is responsible for crushing of the food, and then food is also mixed with the saliva. Where all these things happen? It happens in the mouth. What is the function of mouth? It is nothing but the ingestion of the food. Then this leads to pharynx. So we'll start with the mouth, and then from mouth will leads to the pharynx. What is pharynx? It is nothing but the short muscular tube which leads into the esophagus. So from pharynx, we here you can see the picture. This is your mouth and this blue color one is your pharynx, which leads to the esophagus. Esophagus is narrow tubular passage. When I say tubular passage, peristaltic movement can be absorbed. Okay? Now tubular passage will be there like this. Tubular passage, it opens into the crop. Now what is crop? It is a pear shape which has thin wall and it is a sac-like structure. Pear shape, you can see the structure over here. It is a sac-like structure. कौन सा sac? Distensible sac. When I say distensible sac, that means it is flexible and it is able to contract and relax. It is able to contract and relax. If you will see the outer surface of this crop, it has network of trachea. It has network of trachea. The outer surface of crop has network of trachea. Crop opens into the next part of the foregut. We call it as gizzard. Now, what is the function of crop? This is the neat question. This was the neat question. What is the function of the crop? It is nothing but the storage of the food. It is going to store the food, which leads to the gizzard. That is nothing but the last part of the foregut. When we'll talk about the gizzard, it is also called as proventriculus. Again, this is the neat question. Previously, instead of gizzard, they wrote proventriculus. So, if you don't know the second name, you won't be able to answer the question. So, gizzard is also called as proventriculus, which is having the thick wall. Crop is having the thin wall. Gizzard is having the thick wall. Now, it is muscular in nature. That means made up of muscles. Okay, made up of muscle. The inner lining of gizzard, if you'll see, it is nothing but the chitinous, and it has 6 teeth. Now, see this picture present over here. See here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 are nothing but the teeth, which are chitinous. It is made up of chitin, that is made up of very hard material, right? Now, these teeth is going to be acting like a grinding apparatus. Behind each teeth, what is present? A hairy pad is present. Behind each teeth, let me draw it with another color. Okay, now here behind each teeth there is a hairy pad which consists of a bristle. This kind of structure is present behind every teeth. Now, you can see here behind each teeth, what will happen? Behind each tooth, you have a hairy pad which bears backward direction. Where it is in a backward direction. What is the function of these bristles? It is going to act like a sieve. The food particles which are broken down by the teeth, it is going to be sieved by these bristles and move out. Okay, it is going to be sieved by these bristles and it is going to move out. Now, you can see here the function of gizzard is the ground food. Okay, it is grind food. Sorry, it is grind food into the fine particles. So, it acts like a grinding meal. Now, these fine particles leave the gizzard through bristles which acts like a sieve. So here you can see the picture of gizzard. This is the outer wall, and then you can see the longitudinal groove over here like this. This is the longitudinal groove, and this blue color one which you can see, these are nothing but the bristles present over here. Now, in gizzard, one more thing is present, that is nothing but your valve. Here, your valve will be present. This valve is called as stomatal valve. Now, what is stomatal valve? This is nothing but the membranous projection. Can you see? This is the projection, membranous projection, where it is present in between the gizzard and the midgut. It is like a funnel. What is the function of it? What is the function of valve, class? It is nothing but it allows the movement of food only in one direction. So once the food move into the midgut, it should not come back to the gizzard. So that will be prevented by the stomatal valve. It prevents the entry of food from midgut to gizzard. That's all about the foregut. Now let's see about the midgut. Midgut is short, narrow tube-like structure, and where it is present? Behind the gizzard. So your midgut is present behind the gizzard. What is gizzard? This is the last part of your foregut, right? Now midgut is present in between gizzard and midgut, what is present? Hepatic caeca is present. Now, hepatic caeca are 6 to 8 in number. This was the neat question. And what is the function of hepatic caeca? Hepatic means what, class? Related to liver. Caeca is nothing but a sac-like structure. This like structure will be present. Okay. Now, this hepatic caeca is going to help in the digestion as well as the reabsorption of the nutrient. Now, midgut is divided into 2 parts. What are the 2 parts? One is your secretory part and second one is your absorptive part. Let's study about the secretory part. Secretory part is nothing but it consists of the glandular cells. See, secretion is there now, so for sure glandular cells will be present, because if glandular cells are not present, then how secretion will occur, right? So for secretion, what has to be present? Glandular cells. So glandular cells are present over here. What does it secrete? It secretes the enzyme. Then peritrophic membrane is also being secreted by the glandular cells which are present in the secretory region. See this diagram over here. The first part, this is the hepatic caeca which you can see here. The first part we call it as secretory part, and second one is absorptive part. So here you will be having glandular cell. These glandular cells are going to secrete something. What it is going to secrete? It is going to secrete enzymes, as well as one membrane, we call it as peritrophic membrane. Now these peritrophic membrane, if I draw over here, it will be like this. So can you see there is a pore present over here? So there is a pore present in the peritrophic membrane. And what is actually peritrophic membrane? It is nothing but it is made up of the chitin fibril in the glycoprotein. So you will be having glycoprotein like this, and then you have a, let me draw it over here, chitin fibrils. Okay, chitin fibrils will be present. So this is going to make your peritrophic membrane. It is going to envelop the bolus. What is bolus, class? What is bolus? The food which you are engulfing. See, after chewing it, the food which you are engulfing it, that is nothing but food along with the saliva. So what is bolus? Bolus is nothing but the food along with the saliva. So this is your bolus, and bolus is going to be enveloped by the peritrophic membrane. This is the peritrophic membrane. Now what does it do? What is the function of it? It protects the midgut from the hard food. So if my cockroach is going to eat any hard food, so it is going to damage the midgut. So to protect that, what is going to be present? Your peritrophic membrane is going to be present. The second function of peritrophic membrane is absorption of the digested food. Then absorptive part mein what will happen? Absorptive part mein your digested food is going to be absorbed into the blood through what? Through peritrophic membrane. Just now we saw that the function of peritrophic membrane is, one is to protection of the midgut, and the second one is absorption. Absorption will happen in the second part of the midgut. Now sphincters are also present. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you, the midgut is lined by the endoderm. If it is lined by the endoderm, that means no cuticle will be present. That means no chitinous lining will be present over here, right? Now the last part which is present in the midgut, it is nothing but your sphincter. So what is sphincter, class? Sphincter is nothing but the group of muscle. It is nothing but the group of muscle. Now let me clean everything once. It is nothing but the group of muscle. What is the function of sphincter? Okay, it's not written. There it is present. Fine. Sphincter is nothing but control the opening of the midgut. So if I'll draw it over here, so here you will have the sphincter. Here you will have the sphincter, which is going to control the opening of the midgut, and also it prevents the undigested food. See, after midgut, what is present in between midgut and hindgut? Malphagian tubule is present. We'll learn about this in excretory system. Right now, just remember one thing. In between midgut and hindgut, Malphagian tubule is present. So uric acid, see my cockroach is uricotelic. So what is the excretory material of cockroach? It is nothing but your uric acid. So uric acid from Malphagian tubule will enter into the hindgut. Now if it is entering into the hindgut, it can also move back. So someone has to protect it to move back. Who is that one? It is the sphincter. So sphincter won't allow the undigested food to enter again in the midgut, and also it will prevent uric acid to enter inside the midgut, right? So this was all about the midgut. Now let's see the last part of the digestive system, that is nothing but your hindgut. Hindgut is again lined by the ectoderm. So if it is lined by the ectoderm, it is having the chitinous lining, right? Now it consists of three regions. What are the three regions? Ileum, colon and rectum. Ileum की बात करें, so location it is present behind the midgut. See, midgut is behind the gizzard and ileum is behind the midgut. So all the next parts are behind the front one, behind the previous one, right? So ileum is located behind the midgut. It is the short tube, and we'll talk about here about the Malphagian tube, not in detail. In detail, we'll talk about it in the excretory system. Here, let's see now. Suppose, let me draw it over here. Okay, so this is your midgut and this is your ileum. Okay, in between midgut and ileum you have some tube like structure. This tube like structure we call it as Malpighian tubule. How many it will be there? It will be 6 bundle will be there. What is the color of it? It is a fine yellow color, right? Now it has the blind tubule. What is the meaning of blind tubule? Blind tubule means it has only one opening, the other opening will be closed. You can see here very clearly the second opening, over here there is no opening, it is closed. It has only one opening. So this also we call it as blind side or blind sac. Okay, what is the function of it? I told you already, it is going to excrete the uric acid. Now another function the function of ileum is, this was the function of Malpighian tubule. The function of ileum is it collects what? See, ileum is the next part of the Malpighian tubule. So all the uric acid which is coming from the Malpighian tubule, it's going to enter into the ileum, and also from midgut whatever undigested food is entering, it is entering into the ileum. So it consists of uric acid from the Malpighian tubule and undigested food from the mesenteron. So instead of function, or we can write collected anyways. Now ileum is going to open into the colon. What is colon? It is nothing but the long tube-like structure. Here you can see it is the long tube-like structure. Ileum is the short tube-like structure. Colon is the long tube-like structure which leads into the rectum. Now here you can see the rectum. Rectum is nothing but the short. You can see it is short and wide, and it opens into the anus. The inner side of rectum is having rectal papillae. Some longitudinal, see if this is the rectum, some longitudinal foldings will be present over here. These longitudinal foldings we call it as rectal papillae. Rectal papillae are responsible for reabsorption of water from the undigested food. Write in the comment box, in our body most amount of water is absorbed in small intestine or large intestine. So that's all we have about the digestive system. Now let's learn about the digestive gland. When we'll talk about the digestive glands, here we are going to deal with the 3 glands, that is salivary glands, hepatic caeca and mesenteron, the glandular cells of the mesenteron. Here we are going to talk about all these structure. You can just copy paste this. I'll tell you everything in this particular slide. Okay, now see here, so we are going to talk about the salivary gland, hepatic caeca and the glandular cell. Most important one is the salivary gland. 100% the diagram of the salivary gland is asked in the board exam. So please focus and study this. Okay, so what is salivary gland and how many number of it is present? So salivary glands are paired. That means 2 salivary glands are present. Salivary gland, the name itself says gland means some secretion will be there. What secretion? Saliva secretion will be there. Now this is attached to on each side of the ventrolateral. We know that if this is the cockroach, this is the ventral side. No, one second, sorry. This is the dorsal side, this is the ventral side, and this is going to be the lateral side. So it is present on the ventrolateral side of the crop. Now, how many lobes are present for salivary gland? You will see 2 lobes are present. Suppose this is your salivary gland. So 2 salivary gland you will have. Okay. Now these 2 salivary gland will have 1 lobe, second lobe, 1 lobe, second lobe. So this is 1 salivary gland, this is second salivary gland. So each salivary gland has 2 lobes. Each lobe has acini. Okay, each lobe. So if I'm talking about 1 lobe, it is having acini. Now what is acini? See, this is 1 lobe I am drawing over here. Now this lobe has many lobules. This lobe has many lobules, this kind of structure. These lobules we call it as acini. These lobules we call it as acini. How many lobules are present? Many lobules are present. Now these lobules are consisting of zymogen cell. Zymogen cell. These zymogen cells are secretory in nature. You can see here. Again, I am repeating. See here, how many salivary glands we have? 2. 1 and 2. Each salivary gland has 2 lobes. 1 lobe, 2 lobe. For other one, 1 lobe, 2 lobe. Each lobe has many lobules. These lobules we call it as acini. Acini is made up of secretory cell. We call it as zymogen cell. Now these zymogen cells, though since it is secretory in nature, it is going to secrete the saliva. Saliva contain enzyme, we call it as amylase. Amylase is the enzyme which is going to digest the starch into maltose. So the first digestion starts in mouth. That is nothing but the digestion of starch, digestion of carbohydrate. I hope you must have understood this much. Now let's jump into the other part. Now this is your lobule and this is your lobe, right? Same way यहाँ पे भी lobe and lobule होगा, same way यहाँ पे भी lobe lobule, right? Now and let me show you over here. See here. Now, this is nothing but your one salivary gland and this is your second salivary gland. This is one lobe of the one salivary gland. This is second lobe of the one salivary gland. This is one lobe of the another salivary gland and this is the second lobe of the another salivary gland. Now, you can see you have many lobules present over here. Everybody has to make this diagram, okay? You can see many lobules are present over here. These lobules we call it as acini. These acini has some secretory cells, we call it as zymogen cells. These zymogen cells, since they are secretory in nature, they are going to secrete saliva. This saliva consists of enzyme amylase. Amylase is going to break starch into maltose. Okay, that's what we have studied till now. Now see here very clearly. Let me erase this once. Okay, now see here. This duct is coming out. This duct is coming out from here and it is coming out from here also. So the duct from both the lobules, see one lobule duct and second lobule duct combine together to form the common salivary duct. From here also one lobule duct and other lobule duct will combine together to form the common salivary duct. So how many common salivary duct we have? Two common salivary duct we have. These two common salivary duct is going to combine together to form the median salivary duct. Median means middle. Median means middle. Okay. This much is clear to you. This much is clear to you. Okay. Now let's jump on the second part. So first part we have talked about the salivary gland lobes. Okay. Now second part we will talk about the reservoir. Now these lobes, so I told you, let me erase this. Okay, now this blue color one which I am drawing, it is nothing but your reservoir, or which is also call it as receptacle. How many reservoir you have? You have two reservoir, one at right side, other one is at the left side. Okay, now this reservoir we also call it as receptacle. Now if you will see, this receptacle also have a duct which we call it as receptacular duct. So one receptacular duct from here, other receptacular duct from here. These both duct will combine together to form the common receptacular duct. I am repeating myself again. Both the lobules duct will combine together to form the common salivary duct, and common salivary duct combine together to form the median salivary duct. Reservoir की बात करें तो it will have the receptacular duct which is going to combine together to form common receptacular duct. Now see here class, this median salivary duct, and it is going to open into the common receptacular duct. This median salivary duct, it is going to open into the common receptacular duct. So this both is going to open into the efferent salivary duct, which is going to open at the hypopharynx, at the base of the hypopharynx. Okay, repeating myself again. Where is it? The lobe of salivary gland. Let me show you here. Okay, ductules from one side, ductules from another side. Okay, it will unite to form the common salivary gland. Common salivary gland is there. Duct, I have written gland. Common salivary duct is present. Common salivary duct is present. Okay, common salivary duct. Now, common salivary duct unite together to form the median salivary duct. This much is there for the salivary gland. Okay, next one, let's come for the reservoir. So, salivary receptacle from one side and salivary receptacle from another side. They have the duct. We call it as receptacular duct, and here also we have the receptacular duct. These ducts are unite together to form the common receptacular duct, or we also call it as common reservoir duct. Now this median salivary duct is going to open into the common receptacular duct. These both are going to unite to form the efferent salivary duct, which is going to open at the base of the hypopharynx, and through which saliva is thrown out. Okay, through which saliva is thrown out in the mouth. That's what is explained in this diagram. Super important. I want all of you to draw this. Now let's see the process of secretion and the flow of saliva. First one is acini. Acini is the lobular cells. Okay, the cells which are present in the lobule, we call it as, sorry, acini is nothing but the lobules. Acini is nothing but the lobules which has secretory cells, we call it as zymogen. Okay, so acini is going to secrete the saliva which is going to enter into the common salivary duct. Then saliva will enter into the median salivary duct. Then saliva will enter into the common receptacular duct. From common receptacular duct, it will enter into the receptacular duct, and saliva is stored in the salivary receptacle. Whenever cockroach sees food, there will be the contraction of the receptacles. These contraction of the receptacles leads saliva to enter into the receptacular duct, which enter into the common receptacular duct and then enter into the efferent salivary duct and reaches to the hypopharynx. Let me show you through this diagram. Let me erase it once. Wait. Okay. So whenever cockroach sees food, so saliva is stored over here. Saliva is going to enter from receptacle to the receptacular duct, from here to the common receptacular duct, from here into the efferent, from here into the hypopharynx, and from here it is going to enter into the mouth. Okay. So that was the pathway for the secretion and the flow of saliva. Now the last part over here, we are going to talk about the food collection and the physiology of digestion. If we'll talk about the food collection, my cockroach is omnivorous. What is the meaning of omnivorous? That means it is herbivores as well as the carnivores. It is going to eat vegetarian as well as it is going to eat the flesh. In fact, cockroach can also eat the dead body of the fellow cockroach. Now, some characters and the like how it happens, it's given in your textbook. I want you all of you to make this table and learn by as it is. So food is detected by the maxillary pulp, labial pulp and the olfactory sensory of the antennae. Food is seized or grabbed by the labrum, labium and the foreleg. Food is held by during the chewing. The food should not fall down, right, because the mouth part is towards the towards the ground, so it should not fall down. So food is held by the lacinae, galea, glossia, paraglossia. All these things we have studied in the mouth part. Food is masticated by the mandibles, and prevent food falling down is done by the labrum and the labium, and during mastication food is mixed with the saliva. Now let's see the process of digestion. Your food is going to enter into the pharynx. Pharynx से esophagus, esophagus से crop में. In crop what will happen? The food is going to mix with the digestive juices. Now digestive juices may are regurgitated into the gizzard, are regurgitated into it through the grooves of the gizzard. Now do you remember when I drew the like this? So this is your teeth. Teeth ke baad this one is your longitudinal groove. From the groove what will happen? The digestive juice is going to enter into the crop. See, this is your crop and this one is your gizzard. So from the groove digestive juices regurgitated means coming back, re-entry. Okay, re-entry. So gizzard say your digestive juice is going to enter into the crop and the most of the food is digested in the crop. Then partially digested food is filtered by the bristle of the gizzard. So then the digested juice from the gizzard is going to enter into the crop. Most of the food is getting digested in the crop. Then undigested food again pass through the gizzard. Now what will happen in the gizzard? Again teeth is there. The food is going to be digested and it is going to sieve by the bristles. Okay. Now pass through the stomatial valve. What did I tell you? Here we have the stomatial valve. Into the digested food is absorbed and the undigested food is passed into the ileum, colon, rectum, and in the rectum we have the rectal papillae where the most amount of the water is absorbed. So finally your your feces is defecated like a dry pellet through anus. Okay. Now, what are the actions of enzyme? The enzyme amylase we have already studied in the salivary juice, which is going to convert starch into the disaccharide. Di means two, saccharide means sugar. So starch is getting starch is broken down into disaccharide by using salivary amylase. Now, what is that disaccharide? It's nothing but the maltose. How maltose is formed? It is by the glucose plus glucose. Now, sucrose is going to be broken broken down by the sucrase. See, if you remember the name of the carbohydrate, you can remember the enzyme name. Sucrose, sucrase. Ase we use it for the enzyme. Okay, sucrose is broken down into glucose and fructose. Maltose is broken down into glucose plus glucose by maltase. Lipid is broken down by the lipase into fatty acid and glycerol. Protein is broken down by protease and it is broken down into amino acids. Cellulose is broken down by the cellulase. It is broken down into glucose. Now, last part of today's topic is the crop of Periplaneta does not contain any digestive enzyme. Still, most of the food is digested over here. How? Just now we studied that from crop, the digestive food is going to enter inside the crop. That's how most of the food is digested in the crop. So that's all we have in today's class. I want all of you to write all the mind map for the digestive system and we'll meet in the next class. Thank you so much.